What are some very actionable, practical things that people can do the next time they're about to bet, whatever it is, that they can go, all right, hang on, I do not want to be the ideal customer for the bookie, so I'm going to do this instead.
Well, we've said start becoming more aware.
Yeah.
But that's not an actual tip.
Yeah.
So let's move into things, for example, that will create a bit of friction, as we like to say, between you losing money. So the more chance there is for something to be harder, the less likely it is to happen. So for example, if you were to, let's create a separate bank account for your betting. So you make the new bank account and you know that only the money that comes out of that bank account can be used for your betting. Now, obviously you could still, if you linked your normal bank to the card, that's game over for you. But if you make a rule, I make this bank account, I only bet with the money in this bank account, and I only link the card linked to that bank account to this app, then if that gets to zero, you have to transfer money out of your normal account to get to that to actually bet again. So there's a bit of friction there and a bit of fuck, it can't be fucked sort of thing. Or fuck, I've got to transfer this across.
Well,
I
you're
better
more
not do
aware of it. Yeah.
I've already lost this much. I shouldn't really be going into my wages money or my savings. Probably shouldn't do that. So that's one. That's super basic. Now, for most people, that might not be actionable because they've already got their card linked to their app. So if you've already got an existing account, you're pretty much screwed. So what I'd say is maybe start that now. Go and make that bank account if you are going to be punting. Now, obviously,
I'm sure you could remove cards on your account.
You can remove the card, yeah. Maybe remove like Apple Pay, things like that, just to make it a little bit harder. But in terms of the way you're betting, you also wanted to say like a monthly deposit limit. Now, are you talking about the actual bank or the betting account or like what?
I'd say it's losses.
Okay.
How much are you willing to lose? Actually find a way to track how much you are willing to lose and make sure you don't overdo that.
Well, okay. Should we go into that hypothetical of like
I think so.
losing? All right. So ask yourself this. In the next how many years?
Let's do 10.
10 years.
Easier number.
In the next 10 years, how much money would you be comfortable losing if you were betting? And work out how much you'd have to lose every week for you to not hit that. So let's just go with...
Let's do an example.
What?
$10,000.
So $1,000 a year? Is that too low?
Yeah, but when you say $10,000, it sounds like a lot.
Yeah.
So I think that'll prove the point.
Well, yeah, $1,000 a year.
It's not much. It's $20 a week.
But then you've lost 10K.
Over 10 years.
What about if it was 30K?
$60 a week.
Which is fuck all. Most people would be betting 200, 500. Like a lot of people in that category, they're not even thinking about it. And when you say it like that, they obviously don't lose every single week. But the average says $60 a week. Is that right? 3 years?
Yeah. $60 a week over 3 years
is
30 grand.
30 grand.
Yeah.
Yeah, fuck. It's pretty easy to see where people end up losing hundreds of thousands.
Yeah. Yeah, it's actually easy to lose hundreds of thousands when you think of it that way.
Yeah.
Like you build up, you lose $5 every weekend, then you lose $10 every weekend, then you lose $20 every weekend, then you lose $50 every weekend, then you lose $100 every weekend.
Yeah, and that's the average that we've just done.
So I guess to summarize the actionable tip, it's like think about your bankroll.
Oh, I know what I was going to say.
It's like your bankroll is how much you have to bet. But think of it over a 10-year period. So you've got $10,000 to bet over the next 10 years. If you lose it all, you're out. You're done. So how much can you lose every single weekend? It's like your example that you said off air. It was like if you have,
let's just pretend in the next 10 years, you can only eat 1,000 meals that you can only eat over the next 10 years.
Yeah.
Would you go and eat 3 a day for the next year?
No.
Why not?
You'd
so the rule is if you don't, like as soon as you eat 1,000 meals, you've got 10 years, you have a ration of 1,000 meals. Pretend this is fucking Squid Game and you have to follow the rules. If you don't, you get eliminated.
Yeah.
If you eat 1,001 meals, you die.
Yeah, the 1,001th meal is
You're
death.
dead.
Yeah.
So you need to actually ration your bank. You need to ration your food. So you're not going to eat 3 meals a day. So if your punting hypothetical was, I can only lose $10,000 in the next 10 years, how am I going to prevent myself from going to more than that? Because if you go more than that, you die. That's the hypothetical.
Yeah.
So now think about that with your betting. Like you said, how much do I comfortably want to lose in the next 10 years?
Yeah.
Work that out per week. And if you're going over that already, well, there's your fucking self-awareness to know what's going to happen in the next 10 years.
Yep.
What about in terms of staking or unit sizing and shit like that? Like, can we tell people your favorite one is like bet $1?
Yep.
But is that practical?
I think it is.
So
if you want to stop losing on the punt, bet $1.
So never bet more than $1.
Never bet more than $1.
What's that going to do?
Well,
what if someone places $1 million $1 bets?
Mate, they'll get arthritis in their thumb before bloody, like, even if they do, even if you place $1 million $1 bets, like, depending on what you're betting them on, unless you're betting them on full-on donations, like
negative EV stuff, you probably will get back, I don't know, half of it.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe a bit more.
It's the
if
amount
you're betting on singles, you would.
To bet $1 million bets a day, I mean,
a day.
$1 million bets, it
depends. Let's just take a line.
That's going to take you 50 years to do.
Yeah.
If you lose $1 million over 50 years, I'd say that's a good result. Considering if you weren't betting $1, you would lose. You'd lose your life before that. Like, you'd have to steal and rob. Like,
yeah, if you were doing like bigger bets.
Yeah, you just wouldn't be able to. Like, $1 million bets, like that's gonna.
Oh, not $1 million, $1 million bets.
$1 million bet. Well, if you're betting $1 and you bet $1 million, like it's just not
versus
possible.
$1 million bets of like random stakes.
Yeah, then you're fucked.
Yeah, interesting. And what that goes into as well is what you've done there. You've bet $1, right? You've created a unit size, so your unit size never goes above that. So you now, no matter what happens, if you win, I don't know, you might hit a $20 leg or a $20 win from one of those $1 bets. Your next bet as a gambler normally would be $18 or $15 because you've now got 20 in your account.
Yeah.
It's now still $1.
Still $1.
And what that does is it creates, well, it removes the emotional chase losses. It removes the I've had a big win, let's win more. It removes the alcohol where you're blind and you're putting more bets on because you're emotional. It removes the stress and anger that you've had when you had a fight with your partner and you're only just betting $1. So the bookies can only ever take $1 off you every time you lose.
Yeah.
Rather than 100 or 200. So that's
you're basically just providing boundaries for yourself.
Providing
boundaries where you're restricting yourself to fall into the traps that the bookies want you to fall into.
Well, people will say to that, oh, you'll still end up losing anyway.
You will,
but
100%.
It'll take you way fucking longer.
Yeah.
And therefore you are going to lose less because our lives aren't finite. So, are finite. So you don't have an unlimited life. Like if someone's, like I said at the start, if someone's losing 500 in a day versus someone's losing 500 in 6 months, the 500 in a day is a better customer for the bookies.
Yeah, correct.
Because eventually there's going to be 180 more days of that potentially versus one. So
one last one I want to talk about. Before this podcast, we were discussing what is something that we can tell people when they're sitting around a table, they're at the pub, they're at their mate's house, they're watching the footy, the game's about to start, races are on, whatever, and one of their mates pulls out their phone and just goes, oh, I'm thinking about this, sports bet, same game multi. And then the next person pulls their phone out and all of a sudden you got 10 blokes all sitting around a table with a beer in front of them, all on their phone placing a bet. Now, anyone that goes to the pub regularly, I think will have been and found themselves in a situation exactly like that before. What is something we were discussing beforehand, like what is something that we can tell people who find themselves in that position who, if they were sitting with their mum and their dad and their sisters and their dog at home, they're probably not pulling their phone up. Well, they're less likely to pull their phone up to put a same game multi on. But because they're with their mates, they just get sucked into it all. They get sucked into wanting to fit in, do what their mates are doing. Everyone else is doing it. It's okay to lose, boys, whatever. What is something that we can actually say to someone in that moment who doesn't actually want to place the bet, but they just do it because they feel the need to, because everyone else is doing it? We had this conversation and we actually couldn't come up with like a sound, actionable piece of information or like a sound tip that we could say to people to prevent people from doing it, as is the culture that the bookies have built, that it's become so normal that it's so hard to not do that. So that was a lot of words. In the comments, well, I don't know if you've got anything you want to say to that.
I struggle with this because I can't actually say anything that wouldn't get laughed at or wouldn't be like, oh, fuck you, you're fun at party sort of thing.
We'll say it anyway. We can have a discussion about this.
My one's like, this is stupid, but like it requires you to think before it, which most of the time people are not going to do in this situation. But it's like, well, put yourself in a room and pretend your grandma or someone you respect is watching you. Would you act in that way to place those bets? Like pretend that I don't know, someone you love is watching every bet you place. And that's not specifically to this scenario.
Yeah.
But it's like, would you be comfortable them watching you? Pretend it's like a big brother and they see everything. You pretend you're live on fucking the news and every activity you do, it's like it can be seen. It's like, that's how I would.
The problem I have with that, that would work great if you're talking to someone who's trying to like get over like a drug addiction.
Yeah.
They're like, all right, every time you do a line, think that your mum's watching you. It'd be, oh, fuck.
Well,
but with betting, because it is so normalized, the mum probably wouldn't even care.
Yeah, that's the thing.
That's the problem. They'd be like, oh, Jimmy.
Yeah, it's all good.
All the boys do it.
My fucking husband used to do that too. Like, it's all good. It's been part of the family for 70 years.
But like, it would. It's like, oh yeah, no, my mum was a punter. Like that, unfortunately, it's become so normalized that it's great. And I think that would help for some people. But for a lot of people, they'd be like, mum wouldn't care anyway.
Well, I honestly, like, I would have to, I can't think of one off the top of my head.
No. Yeah,
can you?
No, honestly, because I've fallen into this trap myself. I actually don't know.
So what do we want? People to explain what they would do to help someone to not get sucked into it?
Yeah.
And this is assuming they don't want to place the bet, yeah?
Yeah.
So you're sitting in a group of mates, 8 of you there.
Yeah. But they're just doing it because they want to fit in with their mates. Everyone's doing it. They feel awkward, like, oh, fuck. Everyone's got their phone looking at multis. Like, what am I doing? Just drinking a beer? Like.
So what do you want? How do you avoid that situation? Or how do you prevent yourself from getting sucked in?
Yeah, what can you do to distract yourself? Like, it's hard because literally we were saying it's like it's almost like you can't hang out with your mates. Like, that's almost the extremity of it because it's so hard to not get sucked in. But obviously not hanging out with your mates is not the practical solution. So it's like, it's literally, if anyone can come up with a good tip, hats off to you. Don't know if we'll reward you. We probably will reward you. I'm just speaking off the top of my head. Yeah, we're not just doing
that because of the thing. I'm actually curious as to how someone would deal with
that. No, I'm genuinely curious. I genuinely want people's feedback on what could you say to someone. They're freshly 18, 19. They're going to the pub with their mates and everyone just wants to place a multi. What would you say to them to prevent them from getting sucked in, from doing something they don't want to do, don't get sucked into the peer pressure? Now, there's going to be haters that are going to be like...
You have to assume that person doesn't want to bet. They are aware they don't want to do it as well. It's not just like telling people, like in the comments, oh, just let him go, it's fun. We don't want that.
No, this person doesn't want to bet. Yeah.
What would you tell them?
it's literally impossible.
So if that was surprising to you and you want to learn a little bit more around how the bookies operate and how they manipulate you, if you click right here, it'll take you to the full podcast. Go and have a suss of it. You need to see it.